Greetings, fellow scribes! Welcome back to the archive. Today's topic is Shadowrun's Matrix. This discussion will be primarily based on the Corebooks, and we'll be discussing both the evolution through the Corebooks, as well as a brief overview of what technology was like at the time of the publication. Because Shadowrun is very much a future of its time, and technology constantly changes, especially in the realms of computers. I mean, let's think about this. 10 years ago, I wouldn't be talking to you on a computer at home. Starting at the beginning with Shadowrun, we have to acknowledge that before 2029, we really do not know what technology was like. We know what it's like after. And this is because the crash of 2029 was a keystone moment. It was the point where all technology before it became worthless. When nothing could stop the crash virus, when nothing could stop Echo Mirage, when no antivirus, no firewall, no method of encryption could stop them, when they could access any computer ranging from your home computer to the most secure government centers. Nothing's safe. And the tech companies, the government, the corps, they could not let their data be that vulnerable. They had to develop new methods of securing their stuff. This led to what we saw. The wired matrix, wires can be cut. The layered defenses, the systems access node, the SPU, and each of their respective ICEs. This provided a way to buy time, to stall a hacker, so that people could realize that it was being hacked and either send counter hackers or activate higher grades of ICE. And this was necessary. This was the direct result of even the most secure systems realizing that they had no defense. But at the same time, this is the future of the 80s. Shadowrun was released in 1989. Second edition was released in 1992, 3 years later. And the whole setting, in many ways, was not a future that we would think of today. It very much was the future of the 80s. And that's important. It helps you understand a lot of the details. It was based on bulletin boards. In order to access a host, you had to know its LTG address. In order to access a bulletin board, you had to know their phone number. You had to know what you could access on a host. You had to have clearance. Your computer had to handshake. Your modem had to handshake with the bulletin board and translate all that data. And, yes, the nascent internet existed. The ARPANET did exist, but it wasn't really well known. It was something government scientists used to talk to each other. It wasn't really something not common knowledge. So, this led to the first two editions very much being shaded by this view of things. So we fast forward now 6 years to 1998. Shadowrun 3rd Edition is launched, and the year in game is 2060. Technology has changed because the Matrix has changed. We have a layered grid now. We still have LTGs. We still have those LTGs we know and love. But above that we have RTGs, regional transfer grids. And those are actually more of a thing. It's easier to find LTG addresses now. And when you go into a host, everything's done in one place. There's no more dungeon crawl matrix. It's now just a straight up, alright, I'm in the host, I'm now going to do my stuff. And you can have hosts linked off of that host. Now, why did they make these changes? Partly it was because they needed to speed up the Matrix. The Dungeon Crawl Matrix was fun as heck, but it took forever. And it wasn't fun for the non-deckers. So, they had to change it. But there's something else going on at the same time. The internet is a thing now. And it was much easier to find things on the internet than it was on the days of trying to track things down on a BBS. And, servers are what were hosts in Shadowrun. And you could have servers linked off of each other and all that. Usenet was replacing bulletin boards. It was actually performing many of the same functions as bulletin boards. And you still had the World Wide Web and all that. But it was very different from just a few years ago. Technology just changed so quickly. And Shadowrun was adapting to it. And they had to. Because you have a new player joining this game. Someone who doesn't know everything that went before. They would look at it and go, well, wait, I can do this real life. Why can't I do this in game? Or, why'd they make this so complicated when you can do this and this and this? So they had to change things. But they still kept a lot of the heart of it. Shadowland BBS was a core thing from the very beginning of Shadowrun all the way to the very end of 3rd edition. You can't talk about the Matrix for the first 3 editions of Shadowrun without doing some discussion of Shadowland's BBS. This was the perspective point. This was where all the rule books, all the source books, were in-universe published in. This is where our shadow talkers like Hatchet Man, Neon Samurai, Smiling Bandit, all of those were from. Our first voice in every edition was Captain Chaos, in telling us, and so it came to pass. And this is why the end of 3rd edition was such a big deal. The end of 3rd edition in 2004 with these adventure modules system failure was a major turning point. Real life, we were starting to see basic wireless showing up easily. We were seeing some of the first lighter pieces of technology than laptops becoming available. And things were changing. The future of Shadowrun was clearly no longer going to be the future of the internet, the future of the wired world. And so they had to end the edition in such a way that a new Matrix would be created. This new Matrix we will discuss in a later video. I want to talk about Shadowlands right now. The end of the Shadowlands BBS, when Captain Chaos is doing this heroic effort, fighting the good fight to save anything of Shadowlands BBS from the Jormungandr worm. And he dies. And we lose that first voice. We lose this person that, to some degree, we have looked up to through each edition. We don't know his backstory, really, but he was the person who spoke to us first. He was our intro into this world. And he dies. And the Shadowlands BBS pretty much dies with him. I mean, bits of it are saved. Enough of it saved that it can be rebuilt. But it's not the same. It will never be the same because the captain's not there. And when they ended 3rd edition this way, it very much was symbolic. It was symbolic that this was not just going to be a new edition with a slightly tweaked Matrix. It was symbolic that this was the end of an era. This was the end of the connections to the 80s. Shadowrun, after this, was going to be a different game, a different world. We, at the time, didn't know what this was going to be. We really didn't even know that there was going to be a 4th edition. We thought with the closing of FASA that this was the ending of the game. The ending of the official game. And perhaps it was. Perhaps that's where FOSSA wanted it to end. But it continued. And the new era that I will cover in the next video is much different. And I don't think Captain Chaos would have had a place in it. And that's why his death marks that end of an era. And from there, we had the door open for the new Matrix. And with this, I just want to say that I look forward to you all joining me for my next video, where I start talking about the Matrix in 4th and 5th editions. And I look forward to you all coming back to the archive. Have a great day. Have a great week. Study hard. Be evil.